The year is 1918. A Muslim Azerbaijani boy, Ali, and a Christian Georgian princess, Nino, fall in a fervid and forbidden love. East and West, Islam and Christianity, boy and girl face a passionate collision that tragically falls apart with the invasion of Soviet Russia. To commemorate this epic love story, Tamara Kiasitaze designed a monumental moving sculpture in her hometown, Batumi, Georgia, in 2007, which was later installed in 2010.
Originally named Man and Woman, but later renamed to Ali and Nino, the statue portrays two dynamic figures that move towards each other every day at 7 p.m., reaching for an embrace and a kiss, but then sliding through each other. They never truly connect.
The entire dynamic period lasts about 10 minutes, and in that time, the metal sculpture is defined with flashing, changing colors that make the statue feel more alive, and the ending more tragic.
The intended theme was to honor forbidden interracial love, but we see it in a different light.
Through different lenses, Man and Woman by Tamara Kiasitaze maintains the point of view of the mentally ill individual, in which the photos rhetorically allude to the difficulties they face and the perspectives they hold. Bold, glittering, and relentless, it's hard not to draw your attention to the massive gold in the middle of the picture. The stark juxtaposition between the black void of a backdrop and the emphasized phosphorescence of the gold statue exudes a similar vibe to that of narcissistic personality disorder. NPD is a mental condition in which people have an exaggerated sense of self-importance, a need for constant and excessive attention and admiration, and a lack of sympathy for others. The background of the picture is shut down, while the statue itself is bright and glistening, showing how people with NPD value their self and overlook the environment around them. The second image is shot from a worm's eye point of view, heightening the statue's importance and placing it above all things around it. In fact, the coast in the bottom of the picture is so small it's almost insignificant, recognizing the inflated self-awareness and significance experienced by those with NPD.
Through the texture of her sculpture Man and Woman, Tamara Kiasitaze's art conveys a message about mental illnesses, specifically depression. Depression negatively affects the way you think and feel, suffocating you in a constant state of either despair or numbness. Looking at the strata of metal that makes up Ali and Nino, there is a hollowness and vacancy in the area where their minds should be, in comparison to their full-defined bodies and hearts. Instead, at the crux of their identity appears a sheer and fine layer of metal to depict their loss of character and passion, while the texture of the body is so compacted since people with depression tend to rely on their physical self to get them through the day.
Isolated and in the far back, the statue is now a mere shadow of the world around it. The figure does not take up much of the ground. It's overwhelmed by the beach and the mountains and the people and the sky and the clouds and the greenery and the sand and the umbrellas, and it just does not belong there. It does not fit in. It is awkwardly placed and indecently unwanted, which is how people with depression view themselves compared to the world around them, just an inconvenient side effect of the world. This isolation is intensified in the next picture, in which the potent blue plays a significant role in submerging the picture in an ink-like melancholy. The sharpened hue takes up most of the picture and creates an aura of both emptiness and distress. The figures, with their backs turned against each other, are facing the vast sky of ultramarine terrors alone. It's interesting how the lack of focus in the first picture and the heightened focus in the second both signify the same thing: depression.
The stark contrast in colors between Ali and Nino displays a visual representation of bipolarism, a mental disorder in which an individual struggles to maintain a single mood. Bipolar disorder causes said person to have unnatural and spontaneous shifts in their energy and ability to do daily tasks. One moment they could feel manically elated, the other severely depressed. In this image, the viewer sees Ali bathed in a dark purple hue to emphasize anguish. Meanwhile, Nino is highlighted in a fluorescent pink glow to emphasize hysteria. Assuming that Ali and Nino share one mind and heart, these differences in color represent the polar opposite moods that bipolar people oscillate back and forth between. Furthermore, in the next image, there is a recurring depiction of the two figures in varying stances. This use of repetition conveys the different and heightened state of minds that bipolar causes one to have. Ali and Nino are stuck in the perpetual cycle of longing, connection, and loss. Anxiety is a disorder in which one constantly feels on edge and whose thoughts are always clouded with fear and worry over the simplest things. It is common to suffer from panic attacks and find it difficult to communicate with others if you have anxiety. In this picture of the sculpture man and woman, there is a certain awareness towards said mental illness. The variety of the flashing, neon lines and colors create a state of frenzy, and Ali and Nino drift apart from each other as if connection is an impediment deemed impossible to overcome. Here, while Ali and Nino embrace, every inch of their surroundings is saturated and sharpened, illustrating the lack of one certain emphasis by an abundance of it. Everything is important. Everything is in focus. Every little detail requires complete and utter attention. Their environment is shrouded in hyper-awareness, paralleling an anxiety attack in which a person drowns in panic and consternation.
Mental illnesses can be treated, and Kiesi Taze's Ali and Nino do not overlook that. Positioned in the very middle with brilliant white light emanating behind it, the sculpture maintains a strict vertical balance that, coupled with the symmetrical aspect to the photo, elicit a sense of calm and level-headedness from the viewer, signifying how a once damaged, chaotic mind had found the light and embraced the balance, like Ali and Nino had found and embraced each other. That is, recovery has been achieved.
Craftily integrating photographic and literary techniques, each picture of Ali and Nino takes the perspective of a certain mental illness.
While Kiesitaze's vision intentionally shed awareness on interracial ignorance, she unintentionally brought attention to a deeper, more taboo issue: mental disorders.
The moving monument exposed the tragedy of blaring bigotry in the Georgian society. It is a constant, dynamic reminder to their people that love should not be restricted by parochial views.
It is 26 feet of metal, memory, sweat, and tears that ensure that the people will remember.
That they will stop, admire, and reflect on the message they interpret, whether it be on the scope of prejudice or psychology.